Test, test.
Test 1, 2. Ooh, that's pretty loud. Okay, sorry about that. Jumping the gun.
I mean, if you're obviously, stay down.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Saline in your nose, right?
Yeah. It's like, my husband's like, definitely don't want that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we can test now, please, thank you. Tom, you're up. Tom,
Yes.
please test your mic.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
6:30.
Sounds just like your regular voice. Are you holding the microphone?
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Now you're coming through, thank you.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
You're good, Russ?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Good?
Testing
I'll go again.
You already.
Carol told me I was too quick.
Oh,
on that.
okay, go ahead.
Good morning. Test 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
SQ1 to SQ2. Come in if you can hear me.
Very good, and it looks like somebody helped you with your mic. Thank you. All right, how about,
Houston.
Test, test.
we got you, and,
Test, test.
all right, and I already checked the other one. Thank you much.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's 9:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Kevin, determination of a quorum.
Good morning, Board in Summer Glen. Yes, we have a quorum with all 7 board members present, and the meeting was noticed in accordance of Florida Statute 720 and the Summer Glen governing documents.
Thank you. Oh. here. So today's meeting is a board workshop meeting. So we have quite a few items on our agenda. We'll start off with resident input. And again, I ask everyone, make sure at this time you speak to only those items that are on the agenda. If you have other topics, we'll get to that at the end. But just agenda topics at the beginning here, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. So first up on the list is Fred Waltz.
Good morning, Board. Fred Waltz, Lot 676. Can you guess what I'm here to talk about?
No.
So today I'd like to ask the Board to consider approving the CRF that's before you for the fitness center equipment replacement. I've attended multiple meetings with the Facilities and Grounds Committee. I've met with board members. I've met with members of First Service. As someone that uses the fitness center daily, sometimes twice a day, I can attest that some of that equipment is old and some of it is borderline unsafe. Would it last a while longer? Maybe, maybe not. My understanding is that there's approximately $31,000 in the reserve fund for replacement of the equipment. I did look through it, and I do see that that's earmarked for 2027, but my understanding is sometimes the board can move that up if they feel the need to replace the equipment. The biggest concern, in my opinion, is a Smith machine, which there is a quote included for that in the CRF that's before you. A Smith machine would improve the overall operating ability of the fitness center. It would replace the existing bench press setup. It would offer built-in safety for anybody that wants to use the machine. It has built-in spotting capabilities. And it's a machine that can be used by anybody of any fitness level. It's not for somebody that's in the gym multiple times a day. It's for anybody that wants to go up there and maintain their flexibility and their core strength as they age into their bodies while they live here in Summer Glen. So I would just like you to consider all that when you're determining whether or not to move this forward to a board meeting to approve. I'd also like to stay with no level of accusation or antagonism meant by me that in the past, the board and the HOA has always found funding or found the ability to provide funding for the softball field, the pickleball courts, the pool, the restaurant, and the golf course. The fitness center is just as important of an amenity to those of us that live here and also to new residents that are coming in thinking about purchasing a house in Summer Glen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Diane Doan.
Good morning, Diane Doan, Lot 559, and I'm, of course, talking about the fitness center as well. Just to piggyback off what Fred has talked about, and Fred I brought in to help me to determine all the equipment, and he's been a big help. I'm always appreciative of people in the community that I can talk to and who has expertise on this. And to piggyback him on the Smith machine, that definitely has to be replaced because that was something that was donated to us. It needs to get out of there. It's not safe. As I understand it, there are two other machines in there that do absolutely need to be replaced because they're broken. That would be the dual biceps and triceps on the list, and also the dual abdomen. I can't say it. Stomach. Lower back. Thanks, guys. That do need to be replaced. But honestly, the list that we have is for the strength equipment, and I know it's earmarked for 2027 in the reserves, but again, let's not piecemeal stuff either. We do really need to keep the fitness center, how do I want to say this? Like Fred said, it's an amenity, and it does need to be taken care of, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carol Steck.
Carol Steck, Lot 10006. Regarding the 2026 employee play policy, dealing with golf and employees free golf, as a policy, I find it very vague, undefined, and too open for interpretation by whoever. It starts with talking about that they would receive free rounds of golf based on their shifts. If an employee works at least 2 shifts in a week, then they get 2 rounds of golf. You don't define a shift, number one. That could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours. I know in the pro shop that they only work half a day. I find this a little odd that we took this away and now we're proposing to give it back, and quite liberally, in my opinion. If a round of golf at prime playing time, during the winter months, is $50 a round. Somebody's working 5-hour shifts, you're going to give them $50 additional. That's $10 an hour. You need to look at this from a business respect. It does start at the top that this is a near universal standard. I don't know, I don't golf, but I've listened to a lot of people, and half of them say, oh, yes, it is. Half of them say, no, it isn't. Is there really any firm data on that? So one, I think you need to define hours worked in a week, not shifts. I think they're a little bit too liberal to say basically you get a round of golf for every shift. That could be 5 rounds a week. The other is that you need to make sure you have a processor and policy in place that these rounds are properly recorded in our point of sale system. that, yes, they may not, whether you put it in, it's got to be booked with the value of that golf round. Then you can put in an employee discount, 100%, whatever, if that's what you're going to do. I think you should just discount it. And then make sure that it is properly tracked and reported to the payroll department. This is not nominal compensation. You're talking about something that could be thousands of dollars a year that you're giving away. Personally, I'm opposed to it, but if you're going to do it, at least please be a little bit more business-minded. The other two things, really quickly, the Finance Committee charter. What was in the resident packet, at least, was a half a page. It wasn't in edit mode. I have no idea, are these additions, are these replacements? What is it? Hope you got a better packet, because I have no idea what changes are being proposed. And thirdly, the marketing proposal from the Social Committee. Is this really in their charter to be a marketing division? I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is and what we're doing. So please reconsider. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes the resident input on the agenda items. So next up is our business for today. So first up is CRF 2025-0014, which is for replacement of the fitness equipment. So, I don't know, Russ, do you want to kick it off at all, or?
Help if I was turned on. So in our packet, we have the CRF explaining, there's really two things here. There's the strength side equipment and then the cardio equipment. We're only looking at the strength side of the equipment right now. And I think if I remember in a reserve study, it does break them out separate things. Anyway, you can see the list. As Diane had mentioned, the dual biceps, known as the preacher bench, is been broke. The cable's been disconnected. It's kind of limping down the road on a half flat tire, basically.
Which one was that?
That's the dual bicep curl triceps,
Yep.
also called a preacher bench.
Okay.
The dual abdominal and lower back. It was determined that we've had some issues with that machine, and there is better, newer technology that's more age appropriate, and this is both for the stomach, abdominal, and back. So with people rehabbing or whatever, there's better technology to replace that as well for people that may be rehabbing a lower back. And then a Smith machine is a replacement of that Nautilus machine, which is definitely not age appropriate for this community, but the Smith machine is much safer and is a one-for-one replacement for that. And then just generally speaking, the rest of these items, as mentioned, are aging. They get a lot of use, and they are aging.
So all this equipment is on a maintenance contract, right?
Correct.
So as they come out and evaluate the equipment and do the PM, have they been noting anything about the equipment, safety issues? I heard
Yes.
that some of the equipment's been down for a while now. It's not.
Yes. So the one piece that's broken, obviously they're like, that can't be repaired, you have to replace it. So we've been waiting to present that. This whole proposal started with that piece of equipment. And then the free weights in the back, those were donated, so that's not certified equipment, so that needs to be taken out. Whether it's replaced or not, it needs to be taken out. That's what we're proposing the Smith's machine for, because it does allow anyone of any weight, any size, to be able to do strength and be safe. And then the other one is the abdominal and back. That particular piece of equipment is being maintained, but it's had a lot of repairs on it, and the cable seems to want to break and let everything down at one time and pretty much give everybody a heart attack. So they recommended that they could keep on fixing it, but it's going to give out and then it's going to need to be replaced. So the cable's been done several times. It just needs to be, and that particular piece was not exactly the most appropriate for our aging community, 55 and older. There's a better machine now that's recommended for our age range. So there's 3 that are positively. The others, they're limping, they're still working, but again, when F&G did this proposal, they went through to try to give a comprehensive replacement so that we were not piecemealing everything out all the time. So by replacing this as a packet, then you're going to be going forward for several more years without having to address issues in there.
What happens to the equipment that they take out?
They gave us a credit for that. Of course, some of it's broken and they'll just piece it out for parts. But we did get a credit on this, got a discount, so you can see all the discounted prices. They did give us a trade-in credit of $1,000, which doesn't seem like much, but it is what it is. And then there's some tariffs now added onto some of these, so that increased the cost for us. And the discounted prices, so you see the regular list price and then you see the customer price. So there was a substantial savings because we're going through the maintenance company. And that's what the savings amount that's listed there is all about.
Yeah, so the equipment, before we talk about installation, the equipment, the quote is just under $20,000 with the special customer pricing that they give us. That special customer pricing is because they like us so much, is it we've been a long-term customer of them, or because we're doing everything all at the same time?
Both.
Okay.
Because they're the ones, this particular company, Fitness Smith, is the company that we have a contract with to maintain our equipment. So they come in and they'll oil and grease and this and that relatively for free. But if there's something that has to replace, then they'll quote us the parts that they're replacing, and then then we'll get that approved and have them do the work. But because we're their customer, they've done a few things for us already, like they've reupholstered some things in there and they've really charged us very little for it. When other people buy new stuff, they've reupholstered it for us because we've requested it. So they're relatively a good company, but it is a business. So they show us their discount on products because of the volume and the discount because we are their customer.
Okay. And then the maintenance agreement we have with them, is it a multi-year or is it renewable each year?
So basically what it is just an agreement that it's going to be with them. We don't pay them anything. So they come in, they only charge parts and labor when needed. The rest of it is just, coming in, greasing things up and checking things out.
Okay, so there's not a quarterly fee or anything like that?
I have not seen a quarterly fee for them.
Has there been, to that point, has there been extensive repair expenses?
So the treadmills have had some repairs, seven or eight.
Cardio, or that's cardio.
This is strength.
No, this particular one, of course, the part the equipment that broke, there's no fixing it. So we kind of took off the dangerous part and just left it there because it's very big. And then that one that's abdominal, we've repaired it several times. We've probably put in a good $300 on that particular machine. And then, of course, the one that we want to replace with the Fitness Smith is not a machine that was ever certified by them. It's something that somebody brought in, and that's something that's very important. We love the idea that people want to donate things, but at the same time, we have a liability, so we must have certified equipment in there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I can say that I've used probably 3 or 4 of these pieces of equipment, maybe not in the past 30 days, but I've used them over time. The lower back one, I think I was able to get in it. I'm not sure I was able to get out of it. Functionality is probably a little clumsy, but the leg presses, the chest press, the pull down and so forth, when I look at the pictures, they pretty much look like a newer model, a prettier model of what we already have. Obviously, they're newer, so they look prettier. They're probably a little more functional. But other than the cables, the weights don't ever wear out. Okay, weights are weights. The weights that you put the pin in to adjust the weights, those things don't wear out. The cables obviously can wear, and I would assume that the cables could be replaced if needed.
We have replaced cables, but now you see the one that says the leg curl machine there. There are things that are metal that wherever they're soldered, sometimes over the years of use, and that's what we had. We actually had a soldered piece that just broke off, and we've had that equipment for a very long time, and so they could solder it back, but it's not going to hold. And so cables, plastic. So we've recovered some of the plastic covers on them and some of the instructions, and of course any of the padding and all that kind of stuff. So we're not necessarily talking about pretty, we're talking about better functioning and safer, because as things improve, then the situation is getting in here the right equipment for the age range that we have. And where's that one that I wanted to show you? Let's see where that one is. It's on page 10. That dual bicep curl tricep one. That machine, the one that we have now, is one that doesn't work the same way. And so when it lets loose, if you're not careful, it can just totally just bang all the way down and then cause, a problem. And so here, it's a lot different. It's run a different way. It doesn't have the same cable that it had, that one that we have has, that we've replaced over and over and over again.
I would think, Marie, the Smith machine is for weights, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that's where I think you have to be careful. I don't know I forget what we have now, but that's important, because if you put 50 pounds on each end and the machine doesn't safely allow you to lift it without it moving and so properly, I would definitely think that would be a big upgrade. Things like the leg press, I mean, you sit in it, you adjust the length of your legs, you adjust the weight, and then you straighten your legs out and press it. I don't know how much more functional that could be. That's basically what it does, the leg press. Am I correct?
Yes.
I mean,
this is just a suggestion. Like I said, we gave you the 3 pieces that are absolutely necessary to swap out. And then we have proposed these other pieces as things that are aging out and may not make it to that deadline that we have in the reserves. We're just letting you know. And so that it's your decision what you would like to do. And of course, those 3 pieces are the 3 main ones that we really, really feel need to be replaced.
but we shouldn't spend it for that because it's in reserves due tomorrow or next year. We should do it because it needs to be replaced, because it's not working, it's not safe, and so forth, I would think. That's the important thing. The
Right.
fact that 2027 reserves that has that in the 27, that's not the determining factor, I would think.
No, but here's the thing is, here's the thing, all right? We're talking, in this particular area, we're talking about safety. And that's what we're talking about. A machine that today might be okay, but is very aged out, could be a hazard and a problem tomorrow or the next day. Now, we have 3 pieces that are totally non-functional, and they have to be replaced. The other ones are worn, and they have their issues, and we continue to maintain them, and we will continue to maintain them. But how long they will last, I do not know.
Okay.
Do we have, I understand, is it Vic, has reviewed that? Has he given us something in writing so we have documentation? I think it's important when we spend money like this, that if we're getting somebody who's experienced telling us that it may not be safe, that we get it in writing just so the files are complete. I mean, just so if somebody questions why we're spending the money, we show that we've done the homework.
Vic did present it to us, and I don't know if it was, Diane, is it in writing? I think it is, if I remember right.
Yeah, he wrote it up on a CRF, and I have multiple emails from Vic and I going back and forth, talking about the necessity of it. I mean, Vic is awesome. He works with me in that room. I go through, I know nothing about that stuff. Excuse me. But I do have, I'd have to pull it all out, but I do have why it's being, requested, so.
Okay. What's the lead time? I mean, under payment terms, it says 50% due upon placing the order, 40% progress payment, 8 weeks from installation. So it sounds like these says pretty long lead time. Do we have a?
There is a long lead time because some of this equipment, it's got to get shipped in. I mean, it's not like something they keep on hand, so we're looking 6 weeks or more.
When I saw the 8 week, it says the 40% progress payment, 8 weeks from installation. So, I mean, it's at least, sounds like it's at least 8 weeks lead time.
We could say it was, we have to order, and then we have to wait for them to have the time to come in
Okay.
and
And
install
it's-
everything. So 2 different
I'm sure
things.
it's lead time's dependent on when you place the order, how much is already in the queue, and so on. But it is longer lead time items. It's not
Yeah, I
like
think-
they're going to just ship it out of the warehouse and it's going to be here the next day.
I think Bill has a comment.
Yeah, the evergreen topic of reserves and reserve spending is never ending, of course. But the perspective is when you look at a reserve study and there's a date associated to anything in there, it's the best estimate at long range by semi-expert people doing it. And they're only there for purposes of doing a calculation. The criteria for dealing with any project that's in the reserve study should be, is it necessary to do it now? It's got nothing to do with the date that's in the reserve study, and it really has nothing to do with the amount that's in the reserve study. That all is a result of determinations in the real world of what is happening. So nothing should be rationalized on what kind of date or what kind of an amount is in the reserve study. A project has to stand on its own merits and its own feet. Other question I have is, each of these refers to a CFR. It would be nice if we could see the CFRs.
Correct.
Our CRFs.
That's part
excuse
of the
me.
process, right? That's part of the process.
Well, there is no CFR in our package. We get
Correct.
So if there is a CFR, I think it would be nice that we would be able
Yeah, I mean, it's
to see.
referenced in the packet by the recommendation from F&G, but the actual CRF's
Yes,
not there.
It's
Yeah.
not there. And, I'm not enamored with the commentaries about request was received. If, who did it? we should, if people are involved, you see this on both of these that relate to CFRs. Who's the father of these things? Or the mother, or wherever it may be. We should not have anonymous sources in here as the basis to make decisions.
Yeah, I had that same thought, Bill, that we never saw the original author. And I believe that's part of our CRF policy. Right. And the second part of our policy is have these gone to finance for their recommendation. Yes. We don't have that in our packet, anything for finance.
Well, again, this is the
I know it's a workshop.
workshop, so we're here to, whatever questions
So
we may
those-
have.
Those things are missing.
Yeah, so when it's on the agenda, all those need to be there for actual voting.
CRFs don't hit the agenda unless they've gone through finance, right? That's an underlying,
That is correct.
But we always
procedure.
get
In the
that-
past, we have,
that
yes.
paperwork.
Last year, we did.
Correct, we get that paperwork, usually. I should say usually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the finance committee will really be in a position to say, yeah, we agree it's a reserve item and it's in the reserve.
Right.
But as far as whether it's necessary to replace. That's not what their function is.
No,
I
that's a
understand
board
that.
decision.
That's a board decision.
Okay, any other questions concerning this CRF?
Curious, on page 5, this should relate to Tom's role as treasurer. Where are you going to deposit the $13,000 of savings that would be?
Well, that's
In a big
because they're
broad heading in the
considering
middle of
list
page
price.
5. It's a great big strong letters, largest numbers in the place. Total savings, 13,932. Savings
List price
compared to
versus
what?
our.
Well, if you take the list price for each individual item and add it up compared to the customer price, that's the 13,932 difference.
Nobody pays list price anymore.
Well,
in most cases.
It's a vendor marketing proposal is what it is.
Even your doctor doesn't get list price
All the
anymore.
commentaries about customer pricing and everything else, it's just a bottom line quote, which suggests we may need or should get some alternative quotes for this at $30,000 item. They're not the only people in the world that sell this kind of equipment.
No, but remember, we have, that company is who takes care of our equipment. And so whatever we get has to be something that they are qualified to maintain.
I mean, this is all pretty standard equipment, so I went online and just did a Google search and see what's available online for pricing. And, they all show the same list price, obviously, because that's the manufacturer's suggested price. But when you look at the customer price, the discount they're giving us, it's, in most cases, when I was looking, it's better than what you can get as online pricing. So it's a good deal. I mean, but is it needed at this point? That's what the board needs to determine when we actually vote on it at the next board meeting. So any other questions concerning the package on that? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next item. CRF 2025-0015, which is a request for reflective paint along the main boulevard, 154th Street Road.
Okay, you want me to talk about this one as well? So, there's some debate with the new lighting that has gone in, the boulevard coming in, as to the brightness of the lights as compared to the gas lights, and we're not going to go down that road. However,
We do have
there's been a
information.
request
We do
for
have
some-
information on that. It is brighter than what the gas lights were.
Okay.
The gas lights
So-
were worthless.
So there's been a request to put some reflective tape on the inside curb coming in and out of the community. Okay, and if anyone has noticed, I think we've put up 6 or 8 of them just on top of the curb as a test. Those obviously won't work because the lawnmowers will take them out. But it was put up as a test, and they are very reflective, and you can definitely see the curb coming in through the community. So this is a request for $828 to put in some new reflective reflectors, not reflective paint, reflectors.
And they're glued down onto
They're going to
the
be,
deck.
and they're going to be against the face of the curb, not on top
okay.
of the curb. The ones that, those few that are there are just a test. We just put them in to try them out and see how they work.
Okay, I get it.
I mean, we have a lot of traffic coming in the community with the increased golf, with the restaurant, and so that's the CRF.
Okay.
Now, that's comparing it to the painting, which is a lot more expensive. Is
Yeah,
that-
we're not- yeah, the
That's
painting
another
is-
option
Yeah, which-
that we got,
again,
but
the CRF
not feasible.
Yeah, the CRF, again, it's not in the packet, but the original CRF was to paint a stripe as you went up the road, to paint the curbing itself.
Yeah.
So as F&G looked at it, they said, maybe that might not be the best alternative. Maybe it's better to put in these reflectors. So similar to what we have on the roadway now, with where each of the fire hydrants are, there's a blue reflector in the roadway. The proposal is to put them on the face of the curb.
Face, right?
Yeah, the
On
face.
the face, yes, on the face.
So as you're coming inbound, it'd be on your left-hand side, all the way up the main boulevard until you get up to by the softball field. And then outbound would be the same thing
Be
on
on the
that.
right side.
Correct.
No, it would be
Oh,
on the
left
left side.
It would be
Oh,
also
left
Like
side.
also on the left side, on
It's
the
always
outbound.
on your left.
So
It's
it's
always-
all in that center island that goes up through.
Okay.
So my question is, Jeff, they talk white, yet in this, in the stoppainting.com brochure, yellow is the normal color for the left side of pavement. Not, and white would be the normal color
Yeah, and the
for
test
the right
one-
side.
Right, correct.
So,
So the test ones
I'm
were yellow,
surprised.
so I'm not sure why white is highlighted on this.
yeah, I would think you'd want yellow, and I won't even go into the fact that I think my headlights are adequate to drive in and out. I won't, but that's me. But I would think you'd want yellow versus white. That's just my thought. If you're gonna mark the left side of the curb, Russ.
I get it. I know what you mean.
The other thing I noticed, when you look at the information in the packet, it talks about installation recommendations, and it talks about a butyl pad, which is basically a double sticky. You peel off one side, stick it to the reflector, peel off the other side, stick it to the curb. Then there's a two-part epoxy installation, and then this bituminous adhesive. So sounds like the vast majority of the installation is kind of towards the butyl pad, yet in our packet, they're recommending the epoxy kit. So does anybody have any reasons? Is there a reason why they picked the epoxy kit versus the butyl pad?
That's what we have on hand. We've used the epoxy for other things as well, so we would just need to get more. So the other reflectors that are on several areas are down with epoxy. And so that we were just.
Yeah, but they're on the roadway itself, so there's traffic driving over them all the time.
That's.
Like, you're talking like the fire hydrant markers.
Yeah, the markers,
Yeah.
water markers.
Yeah,
They
and
work-
our
they work,
maintenance
they
staff
stick.
would do this.
What?
Yes.
Our maintenance staff.
That's the proposal. Maintenance
That's
would
the
do the
proposal.
installation, so this is just material cost.
Yep.
So as I was looking through it, the epoxy, I was hoping to find some specs about the epoxy as far as how much time you have to work with it. It doesn't really say, but epoxy cures up pretty fast.
Right.
So if we were to get 2 gallons of this, because it says you can do about 150 reflectors per gallon. I don't know if you're gonna be able to use it up to do the installation fast enough to use up the gallon before it cures. So, and the other thing I noticed, again, might just be a typo error, but it says the epoxy kit, 2 gallons of epoxy adhesive at $104. Well, that pricing of $104 is actually for a quart, not for a gallon. So the gallon ones are actually, where did I write it down at? The gallon containers are actually $198. So you need 2 of those, which would be $395 rather than the $104. If you do the butyl pads, that would be $405. So only $10 more with the butyl pads versus the epoxy. So the material cost is underestimated probably by about $400. So it's really about $1,200 plus tax.
Is that a
and shipping.
two-part epoxy?
It's a 2-part epoxy.
So once you mix it, you got to use
You got to use it, and it's going to cure up on you. And
Yeah, there's a cure time, obviously. Yeah,
Is
it
there any
talks about 1 quart covering 50 markers. 1 gallon covering up to 100
Is
markers.
there any safety concerns about our maintenance people doing it? Is there any complicated installation requirement?
They've been
do it
using
now,
it. They've
yeah.
been using it, and they don't mix up the whole gallon. They mix up
You do
the-
parts of it, yeah.
so that they can, save it for
And
whatever.
there must be MSDSs for the epoxy, I would assume.
yeah.
I wonder how they'll hold up, Russ, on the face of a curb. 2 things I think about is when we treat the roads with the emulsion
But
treatment.
we don't hit the curbs when we do the emulsion.
No, we shouldn't, and then I wonder about cars hitting the curb.
People do take out that corner once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a couple cars hanging off the edge down there.
Oh, I just wonder, then you'll need to probably
Yeah,
have some.
you know,
It's like
typically-
anything, we'll need to
You'll have some
replace them.
replacements on
Yes.
hand, I would assume.
Yeah.
I
So-
think that was part of the intent, was to try to keep those
Try to keep
cars.
'em off.
No, I understand, I understand. Stay
So-
between the lines.
So typically, these are installed horizontally on the roadway itself. Now we're going to mount them vertically on the
We're gonna mount them
curb.
vertically.
Right.
Did the manufacturer have any comments about vertical mounting?
I didn't hear any.
Well, you can see that on the last page there where it talked about the epoxy kit. So it can be asphalt, concrete, or any paved surface. So it sets up really, really fast, and therefore it can be, I mean, obviously, anything can hit it and knock it off, but we were just thinking it would prevent the mowing people from hitting them off, and there's less likelihood, hopefully,
Of a
of a car hitting it if
Than a
it's not
mower.
in, yeah.
I would agree with that. I would think you'd want to buy your epoxy in quarts because it talks about it, the resin and the catalyst being used, setting up quickly. So if you buy gallons, you'll probably be wasting.
Well, you're not mixing a whole
Yeah,
gallon.
you don't mix it all at the same time.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
true.
We'll fine tune the numbers, since the numbers are a little bit off. I'll ask for some fine tuning on this. And, I'll get those original CRFs in here from now on.
So, need versus want. What problem are we trying to solve?
For the reflectors,
Yeah.
we have a lot of folks that really have a visual issue out there, and they've made comments about it being a little bit too dark. And we do have a little swervy entrance. It's not straight. And so that was the only thing. We're not,
So how do they, once they get off the main boulevard, how do they get home?
Brighter streetlights.
I get it. We have a request that's just for that particular problem for some individuals. I don't know how many, and we tried to find a reasonable solution for that to aid people to do that. I don't know that it's necessary as much as it's probably, kindness that we're doing to aid folks, but again, not a necessary thing.
I would think these expenses are period expenses.
Oh, yeah.
Not anything else. Otherwise, it would go straight through expense.
Or what?
The putting up those, gluing the,
I would suspect it would hit community improvement accounts, because it's,
yeah, or
we're not
whatever. but it
repairing
would be
something, we're adding something
It would
to
be a period
community.
expense when we do it. It would be an expense when we do it, regardless of what category it
Right,
goes.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Comment if I might.
Sure.
They commented here about the dimness of the solar lighting. If we remember when the solar lighting went in, they were in as a cost savings proposal, and it was a marker light. Part of the dimness is the fact that the solar receptors are supposed to be maintained and cleaned. The solars, they're filthy. So of course, they're going to be relatively inefficient because they have not been maintained, which is a criteria for it. And it may, I hope it's not similar to the situation we ended up with a few years ago. We ended up replacing an air conditioner because the filters hadn't been changed in 3 or 4 years.
No, so we talked about it. So F&G is now also supervising maintenance, and that is on our list for the next couple of months, the end of this month and next month, to get those properly cleaned. Okay. I don't think that was something that was on their list, but it is now.
Yeah, I think, Bill, there's two things that solar lights have to be maintained. Number one, the batteries are probably good for, I think when we did it, it was like 3 to 5 years that the batteries were good. And the other thing is, I think you have to clean or wipe or do something to the solar panel so it doesn't become inefficient. I think that's the two maintenance things that are normally required, you know. But I think when we looked at it, the batteries, we were told, were good for at least 3 to 5 years.
I think it might have been less than that, but neither here nor there. But one thing we do have to keep in mind, how much we would be paying for that gas if you had not replaced it, because, yeah, it was very expensive back then, and it's a heck of a lot more now, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're brighter than what they had for the gas.
Pardon me?
They're brighter than the new ones with the solar is brighter than what we had with the gas.
I don't disagree with that. I know a lot of people would, Dan, but I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
You know, those lights were never, even the gas lights, they
No.
were not down lights to
But,
provide.
you know, that's
lights
one of the
in
reasons
street
why
lights.
we ended up with the 3-headed LEDs rather than 2-headed
Right.
LEDs, to make sure we made somewhat of an improvement to the, over the gas.
This time of the year, the sun's not out as strong as it is
Right.
during the summer, too.
Yeah,
All right, any,
yeah, I think the problem we had with the gas lights is when the mantle went out and a lot of them were out, you don't change them until a lot of them are out, but yet the gas was going up in the air. And you were paying for it anyway, but never got the benefit of it. That-
okay. So anything else concerning the reflectors for the road? No. So we're gonna get an update on how we want to buy, whether we're gonna buy the butyl pads or the epoxy and what size containers and things like that, have an updated quote. So when we bring it to a vote, we know what the real cost is gonna be.
And the color, I would think.
Yeah, and the color. So Russ, you want to work with F&G on cleaning up those issues? Anything else for that item? Okay, let's move on to the next item up there is the Marion County parcel acquisition information. So we have been approached by Marion County with an overture to purchase the property where our monument sign is up on the intersection of 484 and 20th Avenue Road, across from Burger King. In our packet is some overhead pictures. You can see as you come up the big sweeping curve, come up towards Burger King, kind of highlighted, I don't know if mine's in color, but on that very, be the southwest corner of that intersection is where our monument sign is. That's what they want to purchase, that narrow strip of land right there.
This page here, Bill.
And then the third page in the packet, this here, this is the engineering rendering for what they were originally proposing for that intersection. So right now, there's two outbound lanes. As you're coming up 20th Avenue, coming up to the red light at Burger King there, there's two outbound lanes, one if you're turning to the right, or one if you're going straight or turning left. Those two lanes, and then the third lane is the inbound lane as you turn off of 484 coming towards Summer Glen. This drawing shows 4 lanes. So it would be on the outbound side, still the right-hand turn only lane, then a straight lane as you're going to go across towards Wawa, and then a left turn lane. So those 3 lanes would replace the 3 lanes we have now, and then they would add a 4th lane, which is on the property where our monument sign is. So this is the original plan. They're now talking about, looking forward to growth in this part of the county. 484 has been a problem. They're talking about expanding. Right now it's just talk, but they're talking of expanding 484 to a 6-lane road and then having 2 lanes turning off of 484 to come down 20th Avenue Road. So rather than just going 1 lane into our property, there's the potential they may want to go 2 lanes into our property some point down in the future. But at a minimum, they want to do 1 lane into our property. So we had the initial meeting. They made the overture saying, hey, we're interested in purchasing the property. What are our thoughts on it? So what we've done is, well, let me add one other piece. They said they want to do this as a friendly acquisition. However, if necessary, for the benefit of the county, they may want to do eminent domain if we can't come to an agreement. And just take our property, and they'd have to pay us the fair market value of the property if they did eminent domain. So it's much better for both parties to come up with a mutual agreement. We raised the concern that that monument sign is the only indication as you're coming along the road there that Summer Glen even exists down that road, and it would be very important for us to keep some form of a sign there that's similar in architecture and visibility to what we have now.
Yeah, I would think that because of that sign we have, that makes that property more valuable than just looking at a 40-foot by 300-foot piece of property on the corner. I know there was some mention that, well, we got to be careful because Marion County, was very fussy about what you could put on that corner by the light. But I got to tell you, if you look at Wawa's sign across the street, it's very close to the road. It's electronic and it's tall. Okay, so why, for them to say, well, you got to be careful what you put. evidently they were okay with Wawa, okay? I did speak with our tax accountants, and if we got a check for, let's say, $100,000, that would be a taxable event, because the basis of our property is basically zero.
Right.
Because it was turned over by the developer. So I'm just using a number of 100,000. We would keep probably 65,000, because between the IRS and state of Florida, you got to figure 35% in total. So, you know, just, we got to keep that in mind. Now, maybe there's language that we could do a property swap or do something that might mitigate the tax effect. I can't get any information from the accounting firm until I show them some alternatives.
Right.
But we need to keep that in mind, that it could most likely be a taxable transaction.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, in terms of leverage, presumably, there's been an appraisal of the property, and it would presumably cost the county a lot more to
Go through the legal
eminent
process.
domain than to pay us. And I think we have a strong argument to say, because of where, you know, our position is typically a nonprofit organization, you're creating a taxable event for us. The gross amount of the payment should be enough so that we become at least net of tax, come out the same benefit that we would have if we were not taxable.
Right.
So
I know
we
we
should
did-
have some leverage there.
And in addition to that, we still need a sign.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Bottom
we
line,
did get
need
a,
sign.
And it should,
we did get a reference of a lawyer that's a specialty in that area that if we want to contact, I would suggest if we can get Alan to make some pictures or video of all four corners from each direction. So if we do have a conversation with somebody, we can send them the video so they can see what we're talking about, because certainly that would be important in evaluating what it's worth. And you're right, if they go eminent domain, not only is it going to cost them a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of time. You don't do those things in 30 days.
Right.
There's a lot of requirements.
Right.
So, you
So-
know, they don't want to go that way for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
and
So
they
Jeff, are they
should
talking
fund the
about taking,
replacement sign.
are they talking about taking our entire piece? What about that building and the land next to it? Is it gonna
Different
encroach?
parcel of land,
That's a different
not owned by
It's
us.
different, but is it gonna encroach there as well? No?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
So because this could potentially end up in eminent domain territory, as Tom mentioned, we've reached out to different law firms that have real estate transaction specialists on staff. And we need to set up a meeting where the board can sit down and we can talk to them as far as, do we want to retain either of those firms to represent us through this process?
And I would think that would, the cost of that, an estimate for the cost of that, we should include in valuation what we want for the property,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know. Now, the question I thought about was, could we swap it for the easement
Probably not.
where the goat path is?
Well, I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I mean, I think we need to talk to somebody that's a real estate.
Just a thought.
That's for
But
the
the
attorney.
critical thing is the signage.
Yeah.
I don't think, just my own personal opinion, I don't think we want to have no visibility out on that intersection that Summer Glen even exists.
Yeah.
If we sell that lot and we don't have a sign there, you know, nobody's going to know that Summer Glen exists. It's going to impact our golf operations because people don't know how to find us. It's going to affect the restaurant operations because people don't know where to find them. So having some sort of signage there that's acceptable to us is going to be critical. So,
Besides money.
besides money. So just want to make sure the community is aware of what's going on. We're going to get into this in more detail. The way we left it with the county was they said, why don't you get back to us by the end of the first quarter of 2026 with which direction you want to go with this, whether we have any interest in selling it or whether they need to start the process of eminent domain. So that's where we're at right now. So we'll look at interviewing 2 different law firms that have real estate transaction specialists and decide if we want to go with either one of them to represent us through this process. Anything else concerning this item?
No.
Okay, next up is item D, which is the United Land Services controller repair proposal. So Marie, do you want to?
Yeah, so United Land Services, this is the landscapers. They have gone through and done a complete assessment of our irrigation. But there are quite a few of irrigation and I don't know if it's valves or I don't know what you call them, but a lot of them that are in the ground, they're going to need to dig up some areas, locate everything, rewire some areas. And so for that extra stuff that they want to clarify and get working, this is their estimate for doing that work.
Yeah, Marie, when they talk about the controller at the pool house, I'm assuming that does something with the irrigation in the parking lot by the front of the restaurant and clubhouse.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
And-
that is correct.
And the other one would be the softball field.
So the controller at the softball field controls all of the arbors and that back end back in there. And so the arbors and the cottages, they have had some issues in the past, and there are some controllers and things that they have not been able to locate that probably need to be replaced. And so that's what they want to do, is to be able to follow this through and dig out everything and get it going. It's very similar to what Cypress did on the golf course, trying to locate everything and dig up things. I mean, I saw them many times in a hole. They're actually working with Cypress because, you know, our system is all just one. So they want to be able to follow what Cypress did and look and find some of the locations. Some of the locations they already found because of Cypress and Cypress's help, but there are some that they know are out there and they just need to dig.
Yeah, Marie, is it the issue with the controllers or the valves?
So it says
My
here,
understanding is the controller sends signals to the valve that opens or closes it.
At this point, all they know is there's certain valves that aren't opening. They don't know
Why?
why. And that's what this is. If you look at it, most of this is labor to get in there and troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. And then there's special wire nuts for in the ground vaults.
Could it be possible that the controller is not functioning right, which might be more expensive?
That's possible, yes. But until
But
we
that's
do
not
this, we don't.
included in this.
Right? Until we do this, we don't know how extensive
That's
it is.
correct. It's troubleshooting the valves.
Yeah. So this is
The controller that was hit by lightning and wasn't it repaired or?
it
No,
was
that was
repaired.
Cypress.
Well, some of them were Cypress.
no.
and some of them
That was the ball. You're right.
Oh,
It was the ball
yeah,
field.
that was the ball field.
Yeah.
Well, it was
The
floor
ball
along.
field.
But here it's, he says, on the system, there are DBRY wire nuts.
Direct berry, red, white.
Okay,
Okay.
of the valves I've seen on the system that do not have the proper wire connections for 2-wire systems. So what's happened is if you don't have an expert in 2-wire systems, which is what our system is, sometimes they will rig these things to work, but they will only work for a certain time. And so they've noticed there's been some of this, and they want to be able to find all the connections that they think are not right, and some of them have never been handled, and they're down in a hole somewhere they're going to have to dig. So they'll find them, they'll assess them. If it goes, this is just the troubleshooting portion of it.
It could cost us more,
And they'll have to give us an estimate.
depending upon what it is
But again,
needed to
it's outside the
fix it.
contract price, therefore they're giving us a quote to do
Yeah.
this work, and then if it gets into something more significant, then they'll give us a new quote.
Who's Ocala Irrigation? Is that somebody they're subbing out to? I mean, it says labor Ocala Irrigation. It doesn't say that United's doing the labor. I was just curious about that.
No, because we're in Ocala. So this is their team, their Ocala team.
I get it, I get it.
Yeah, it's
I was
really
thinking it
weird.
was another
Yeah,
company.
no,
No.
I think they must have different pricing based on where you're located, so,
I get it.
Naples might be more expensive
No,
than
they have-
Ocala, and,
Right, Jacksonville irrigation, I get it. Okay. I didn't figure that out.
okay. So again, this is just, at this point, diagnosis and just basic fixes. If it could turn into something more extensive, in which case they'll have to give us a separate quote for that.
Okay.
All right, moving on, United Land Services mulch proposal.
This one's a little bit complicated. We received not a refund, but a reduction in the last bill that Floralon gave us, because with Floralon, we paid for irrigation every single month, and then in the month of November and December, they did all of the mulch. And because they were leaving, I asked for the last invoice to be discounted for that mulch. So I said, either you drop off the mulch or you discount the invoice. And so they discounted the invoice for the exact amount that we were paying monthly, which was $6,800, I think, something like that. And then I asked United to give us a cost. Now, Floralon had their ideas of where mulch goes, and this is not enough mulch to do the entire community. But what United has done is they've set the priority out as to the areas that have absolutely no mulch. And those are the areas that they're going to handle with this. So the difference in cost is what the actual cost would be, because we, got the discount last time on that budgeted item.
Yes, so it becomes a 2026 expense rather than a 2025 expense.
That's
Yeah.
right. We got the credit in 2025 from Floralon, but the expense of the $7,000 is going to be in '26.
Right.
Correct.
That's just so everybody knows.
Yeah, it is. So this is the only mulch that I anticipate for this year, because mulch is not in the contract that we currently have. We'll have to do it separate. So next year, we'll try to include it in a separate, like community improvement or something else. But because of that credit, I felt like, we could take this medicine a little bit easier, knowing that, we got that discount from the last contract. So that's basically what it is. They prioritized the very visible areas that are now, that need attention, and that's what they're going to be doing with the mulch if it's approved.
Any questions concerning that?
Yeah, and it looks like 17 pallets. That's a lot of mulch.
Is it
Because it's not
17
lot of
pallets or
area.
17 cubic yards?
One pallet, I think.
No, I believe that's 17 pallets.
Oh, that's
It's-
17, okay, so
it's
it's individual
pallets.
bagged?
Oh, it
It's
must
Yeah.
pallets, yeah.
So-
Yeah,
17
the
pallets, okay.
17 pallets of
Yeah.
bags.
Pallet
Yeah.
Okay,
installed,
all right.
17. Yeah, you're right, yeah.
That's a lot.
Marie, when was the last time
could do 16.
mulch was actually put down? Do you know?
What?
We could do 16 and save.
So mulch was actually added in 2024. There were a couple of sections in 2025, small, very small sections. But the mulch was not done at all during 2025. They were charging it on a monthly basis, but they were not putting anything down, and they said they only apply it during November. That's what Floralon said. So that's where I got the idea of saying, okay, well, if we're paying for it and we paid for it all year, I want it. And there wasn't enough time for them to physically bring it in, and so that's why I wanted them to deliver it, is what I wanted them. Put it in that fenced area where and then we could have the current landscaper spread it out. But they were very anxious to get out, and they did not deliver it, so then I requested that they give us a credit.
So as they do around the trees, what's going to prevent this? I mean, this is the large nugget pine bark mulch is what they were recommending. What's going to prevent it from just floating away as when we get a heavy rain and all be down the main boulevard?
I don't know the plan. I could ask.
I mean, normally they dig like a little
Trench, yeah.
V-notch around
Yeah.
that acts as a retaining
Right.
for it.
I know that they only put pine nuggets here, but we know that the Florida Friendly Garden out by the softball field, that one has a different type of mulch so that it won't float away because it's right there near the parking lot. So I will have to talk to them about it. So this price will probably go down a little bit because part of that will be that garden that has to be remulched. And it's the not the pine bark, but the cypress shredded.
The shredded, yeah.
Yeah, so, and that costs less than the pine bark. But I can definitely get a plan for that, for more clarification for you for the actual meeting, and I can have them write something up and then adjust the price, because I didn't find out about the shredded mulch until I went to F&G this past week. I didn't realize that that particular area took a different type of mulch. So they would have to calculate and adjust this price.
Anything else? Okay, moving on to the next one, the golf employee play policy. Kevin, you want to?
Yeah, this was done up by Brad. When Brad first started, we were discussing, just operations, et cetera. His opinion is this is a very common practice done at, I guess, all the places he's ever worked, in addition to just his general knowledge. So he tried to come up with a plan that would be, fair, not be abused, and done at a time where, it wouldn't be during prime tea times. And so the employees, if they worked a shift, and the shifts are, 5 to 6 hours, that would obviously be a shift. It wouldn't be a 2-hour shift. And so he came up with this plan thinking that this might be a good way to go to, keep morale of the workers, probably most, if not all, of workers in the Rangers and the pro shop, that, they do a lot of it, not necessarily for the money, but, for the golf privileges. And so this was his best idea that he came up with for board review and discussion.
Yeah, I have a question. In my original, I thought discussion in one of the management meetings, I thought I was told that a shift is 6 hours.
Correct.
You're now saying it's 5 to 6 hours. So the question comes in, if somebody works 2 10-hour shifts or 2 12-hour shifts in a week, what are they entitled to? Now, what if they work 18 hours? Or, part-time is anything under 20 to 25 hours. I think the cutoff is 30. Nobody works 30 hours, and we pay every 2 weeks. So, nobody's at 60 hours. And unfortunately, I'm probably the only one that monitors payroll because I have the ability to look at it after it's paid, not more currently. But I'd like to know what happens if somebody works 12 hours or 24 hours. Do they get 2 or do they get 3? Because when you figure if they get 2 rounds a week, that's the equivalent of somewhere between $6 and $10 an hour because it's a non-taxable perk. So when you look at it at the value of it, it's probably closer to $10 value. So if somebody played, I did a little calculation, if somebody took advantage of that over 40 weeks, because nobody's going to do it every week. So if you use 40 weeks, that's a $2,500 to $3,500 benefit, perk, non-taxable type perk. Is that, and we're asking them to do a good job developing rapport with golfers. We also ask the same thing of the people at the gatehouse. Okay, as a matter of fact, when people come into Summer Glen, who's the first people they see? Gatehouse. And I can tell you it means something because I had a visitor on Sunday for the first time, and he made a comment to me how nice the people were and how well he was treated at the front gate. But we don't offer them any kind of perk. So,
There's debates on
the other thing that concerns me is, do we have the infrastructure that things are being managed and recorded properly? I could tell you when you looked in the past, months ago at the transaction register for a day, you see a lot of big transactions with no names. Some have dollars, some don't have dollars, so you have no idea. There was also under our golf software, there was a category for golf employees. That normally was blank. Nobody used it. So we have no idea how many people took advantage of that. To me, managing that is an issue. I also would like to know if we do any survey with people coming in from the outside. I can tell you, every time I go to the doctor, more frequently than I would like, I get a survey email immediately. Okay, how was my visit? How was an appointment? Should we be doing that and seeing that our people that we may be giving a perk to are doing what they should be doing? And are we getting the benefit of that? All those things are questions I have that I don't see when I read this.
Okay,
you know.
yeah, and I'll work with Brad on maybe tightening
That's just my
this.
perspective.
Sure, on tightening this up based upon conversation.
I'd like to comment that, so last year when we had Murph and our golf task force, this was a topic that came up, and we were relying on a new golf manager with a lot of experience to come in to do this for us, and he's given it to us now. The recommendation from a guy like Brad, we should be trusting him and supporting him on this topic. We want our people working out there to be advocates of the course, right? And Murph has said this many times. We want them to be advocates of our course. A small perk like this is it's kind of universal. We kind of knew that before, but we were leaving it to our new golf manager to give us this, and this is a great policy.
Yeah, when I said, could be 5 or 6 hours, if it's slow and there's nothing going on, Brad will cut somebody loose. And so, it might be a 6-hour shift, could turn into a 5-hour shift. And he did say that, yes, he can track all of this, and he would be, monitoring, that it gets recorded accurately in the new sales system.
I guess I have to disagree. Excuse me.
I know what you're going to say.
Well, I have to disagree because our course is a little bit different. We're not a private golf course. I mean, I don't know where Brad's worked, whether it's private courses, municipal courses. Our course is owned by homeowners. We asked the homeowners to subsidize the golf course. This year's budget shortfall is almost 600. I guess it's over 600,000.
Exactly.
So that's $600 per homeowner a year. So we're asking them to not only pay our workers $15 to $16 an hour, and our golf salary budget is $364,000, I believe. Now we're asking them to pay for golf, for these employees to pay for their 2 free rounds of golf a week, which I think Tom had it at $3,500. I had it at $4,000 roughly, free golf. I guess I had the same question that, what about the gate? They're all first service employees. They're going to want? Do they want to benefit? I think about our volunteers. Our volunteers probably, including the board, but definitely the board president and the treasurer, put in well over 10 to 12 hours a week. They're not getting. They're paid
That's per day.
That per day, and I know that Jeff's paying for his golf as I'm paying for my golf. So I just find it ironic that we have to give away golf for a golf course that's subsidized by the community and is losing buku dollars, and I can't support it. I'm sorry. If our golf course came close to breaking even, I might be able to support it, but I can't support it. Not the way it's written.
Jeff?
I understand what you're saying, but reading these paragraphs, it's after 12 noon, and if the tee time gets sold, they get bumped. It's not like we're losing revenue by giving this round. Would they play? We don't know. Have they been playing when they didn't have it? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is we're not losing revenue. if outside person comes in and says, I want that tee time, it says right here, they get bumped.
Well, we are losing revenue because if an employee wants to play golf right now, they pay. And I know one employee who took a membership because they did not get, quote, the amenity of free golf. So they took a membership. So we would turn around, if they wanted to play once or twice a week, we would lose their membership money. So, or we'd lose their daily greens fees money. So yeah, there has to be a loss there when you think about it.
If they don't use this, nobody's playing the course, because that's the only time they can get on.
Well, and then I don't trust that they would always, it says they play after 12 p.m. unless they're invited to play with a member of the group.
They're going to be invited. I guarantee a bulk of them are not going to play after 12.
When you say a bulk of them, you're talking about 4 people that play golf. That's all, 4.
Yeah. Today, that could be true, right?
Well, today, anything can be true tomorrow.
Right.
But I'm just saying now, it's
Today.
4 people. And Brad made a statement that he will not play this golf course free if his employees don't get golf.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty strong statement. He's been around. We hired this gentleman to manage our pro shop. Now we're trying to micromanage his pro shop. He is doing much better bringing revenue in here. And he's also has the support of all his help. They think the guy is doing a phenomenal job. We're talking about peanuts here, people. Peanuts. That doesn't cost this community. You hired a guy to do the job. This is his recommendation. Now you're going to oversee his recommendation. In my opinion, it happens at every golf course around. Every golf course. And that's what Brad said. He's never heard of anything that the employees that work in the pro shop don't get free golf. You're talking about 4 people.
I absolutely agree with Dan and Russ. And one of the things we miss is it is in the absolute best interests of the operation of this golf course, for those guys to be on that golf course when they are off duty. There are one of the things that we're very short of here is adequate marshaling and monitoring of what goes on that golf course, particularly from outsiders. And there's some wildies that show up and disregard the rules. Regular homeowners are hesitant to say anything, but when you have these folks who are direct reports to the pro and who at times do marshaling services when they're on the clock, they will pick up the slack when they're out there and they see things. That is a tremendous benefit to the operation here. So that, on top of all of the criteria that Russ and Dan said that's right about it, is an additional benefit. And I think it's clear that in the few months that he's been here, there is no doubt Brad is an absolutely different breed of cat than anything we have ever had over there in that pro shop in my term of 10, 11 years. And Dan's, you've been here a lot longer than I have. We have never had anybody of his ilk here. We need to let him do his job because he's doing a lot of really good things that have never been done before. And if he feels this strongly about it, I think we should go along with what he's recommending.
Okay. The only other comments I'd have as I was reviewing this, it specifically says 2026, and it talks, specifically in 2026 shall be as follows. I would take out 2026. I mean, this is what our employee play policy is going to be, not just for 1 year. This is the policy until it gets amended at some point in the future. So I'd suggest modifying it so it makes it more generic rather than specific to 2026.
At this point, do you have any other suggested revisions to this before we bring it back to the next
I
meeting?
think what I heard is we'd like a little bit better definition on how the rounds get allocated. And, if, let's say in a particular week, if somebody is covering shifts for somebody else and they end up working 30 hours, 1 week instead of their normal 20 or whatever. How are the rounds going to be allocated, the complimentary rounds?
I guess I would ask the board if there's a compromise to 1 day of golf a week versus 2 days. I just think that's excessive.
Well, what I would suggest is we have Brad go back, rewrite it, tighten up the definition of how the round's going to be allocated. Should be ready for the February board meeting, and someone can make a motion to either approve or to modify whatever Brad comes up with for a final draft.
With the meeting that we're talking about having Brad here and Pat, I think we're going to have that meeting before our next board meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, tentatively, we're planning for February 2nd for a golf town hall meeting.
Yes. So a lot of those questions, if you have questions, that's the night to answer them. Have them answered from Brad, directly from him.
One suggestion I would have, Brad, as to the verbiage here, in the next to the last bullet point about playing other than after 12 o'clock, I would suggest it would just make that at the discretion of the pro. If we're going to let him run his operation, let him run his operation.
Okay, anything else on that item? Okay, move on next to item G, which is the Nash riser proposal. So this is in relation to the grease traps for the restaurant.
Correct. So the grease traps, Tony is, along with Nash, discovered that with time, the ground settles, and basically you've got the grease traps at ground level, and so that's allowing excess water to run in. The suggestion is made to install these basically risers, which extend the lip of it up top to keep excess water out from the drains.
So it's an 8-inch riser.
Yeah.
So it takes them there. In some cases, the mulch is higher and the water is running down in. So this raises all those manhole covers for the grease traps up by 8 inches.
This is the lift station where the light is?
No, this is as you're walking in the main entrance to the restaurant, it's on the right-hand side. The lift station's on the left. This is on the right-hand side where the grease traps are.
Okay, where do we have the problem where the pipes are not, or clogged or messed up?
RSO.
Oh, yeah.
The other, that's already been addressed. The lift station issue has already been addressed.
Yeah,
Okay.
they came out, we had that repaired last month where he had to repair some wires, controller, so that's better now.
That's out in the island, right?
So what you're saying is there's the grease trap, then there's the,
This is for the grease traps.
there's the
This is for
grease
that.
trap, then there's the lift station, then there's across the sidewalk, there's the other.
No, the lift station's, there's only
okay.
two.
There's
the
only two.
It goes into the grease traps first, and then it flows over to the lift station, underneath the sidewalk.
So
of the
we're
main-
talking about the lift station with the
No.
riser, or the
No,
grease trap.
there's 5 manhole covers that are on the right-hand side as you're walking into the restaurant.
Yep.
On the right-hand side, that bed, there's 5 of those manhole covers. We're going to raise his proposal is to raise those 5 up with a collar that raises it up 8 inches.
And they all relate to the grease trap?
Yes,
Correct.
Okay,
that's access for whenever they get in there to pump out and everything.
okay. But we still have a problem with the other.
No, that's been addressed already.
Pardon?
That's been addressed already. The other problem we had with the lift station, that was all addressed last year.
Okay, that was fixed.
Yes, that's fixed.
Okay.
Any questions concerning this one? No. Okay. Next up is United Refrigeration condenser motor replacement. So this is for the Larkin unit, which is right outside the pro shop. There's a whole bunch of units right there. There's an original piece of equipment that's manufacturer is Larkin. So they've identified issues with the condenser motors. They're not operating at all, right? Both motors are shot.
Correct, and so Tony and I met up with United and took a look at this. So both of those, so it's that big square or more rectangle with a couple of fans on it right by the entrance to the pro shop. So those are shot. So what this proposal is to replace those. We also went up above the above the cart barn there and took a look at the big unit, which is a dehumidifier unit. It's original. We are still waiting for a proposal from them, but he estimates that, you know, we're looking at least 50,000, if not substantially more, to cut the unit out, replace it. So he did a diagnosis of it, looked to see if the wiring and everything was working. In his opinion, if we replace these two motors, the unit should work. So it is a little bit of a, we're not 100%, but that's their opinion versus going down the road of outright replacing it right now. So I don't have that number yet, so we'll get that to you as soon as we can.
How old are those compressors that those fans are cooling?
2007.
2000 and what?
7. And I was there today, October, November, when we looked at these. And he was going to give us a price to replace those motors, but he was also going to give us a price to replace the condenser.
That's what I thought.
Because it's so old and it's corroded. But he, according to his write-up here, though, he says it's that he feels that the coil condition, there is corroded sections, but not to replace it. So
But you
you are getting a price for full replacement of that unit as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the replacement would be the outdoor unit as well as the air handler up in the attic.
Typically, they're done in pairs, but it doesn't have to be done that way.
No, but normally-
that unit up there, I don't know why they did the install the way they did, but to get that unit out and to get another unit in there, it's going to require quite a bit of work. They're probably going to have to cut open a doorway, and replacing the air handling unit that's in the attic is going to be a much bigger project. That's the $50,000.
But that's also a 2007.
I would imagine, yeah, they're probably both in
Well,
the
that's
same estimated
18
year.
to 20 years.
Yeah, it was original.
I mean,
original.
is it on
The-
borrowed time or what?
Well,
Yeah. We need to have that answered as well as the
Yeah.
replacement.
Yeah, I took pictures of the manufacturer's label, so I've got the exact date on that as well. You know, he thought because the restaurant was closed and basically that unit wasn't working for probably over a year, that also led to the motors seizing up with, I guess, weather and what have you. The problem is in the restaurant, it's you've got more humidity than what this unit is trying to do is to, you know, get it out of there. And so you've got pressure issues going on with the building, and it also creates a problem with the other HVAC units have to work harder to kind of make up for what this unit is not doing.
Yeah. So I guess, you know, to Russ's point, we probably need to see 3 things. So we got option A is this is the bare bones minimum that should be done. Option B is to replace just the whole condenser unit that's outside, and then option C is to do the full-blown replacement.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm concerned that we've got 2 pieces of equipment, the outside unit and the attic air handler, that are both 18 to 20 years old.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend $3,000, $3,300, and we don't know if the compressors are going to, much longer they're going to last, and the air handler up in the attic.
Right.
That's why
we're doing option A, B, and C, so the board has the whole picture and we can make a decision.
Yeah, this is
Exactly.
almost just a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, if we end up going with the larger project, after we've done this, would this $3,000 just be wasted if it turns
Yes.
out we're in a bigger
Yeah.
project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why we need the answer.
And sometimes you can't replace the compressor outside if it doesn't match the air handler inside.
Exactly.
And everything is different, Freon today, and different, the compatibility and,
Yeah.
I think at some point in time, we're going to be faced with the whole thing.
Well,
Yeah, you
let's
were there that
look,
day.
that's why we want to
Yeah.
evaluate all 3 options
I
now,
was surprised.
rather than spend money that
Just that.
Let
Yep.
is wasted.
Jeff, let me ask an ugly question. If this is the condition in the restaurant, are we looking at anything similar to this kind of a problem in the RSO building? The age-wise, they're pretty close.
No, there was 3 units, the 3 oldest units elsewhere in the community have already been replaced last year. So everything else is, well, it was the list I just sent out to the board of all the projects for 2026 that's in the reserve study. We have the Aon unit that's in the RSO building that services the gym. It's at its end of its estimated useful life. We have been having trouble with it. And there's another unit as well that's, I guess this one here.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 that,
This one is the last dinosaur, you could say. It's they're taking a long time to come up with that full replacement estimate because they're looking at what it's going to take to pull everything out from the location that it's in. And that's where they're trying to figure out man hours. They're trying to work with the person that has that particular model that they'll be replacing it with, the clearances, all that kind of stuff. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. The one in the gym keeps on having issues, and we keep on bringing it back. But we may have to look at that a little bit further. When the summer comes, I'm not sure that it's going to be able to keep up. I think it should have lasted longer, but it's a very finicky unit because it's an Aon unit that has the dehumidifier in it, and those tend to be finicky.
so there is an Excel spreadsheet that shows when the unit was installed, when its estimated life is, and all that. So those are the 2 that we need to look at for this year. Anything else? Okay, moving on is the item I, the trifold marketing flyer. So the proposed revision to it is in our packet. Any questions concerning the
Yeah,
proposed?
the only comment, I went through it and it looks fine. I'm just concerned about the fact that on the one section, we put in the $30 monthly voucher for food and beverage. That makes it dated because technically that's only for 2026. So that means if at the end of 2026, if you give this out in 27, that is incorrect.
Yeah, you're right.
So is it making it dated by doing that? Unless we say in parens 2026 or something. I'm just raising the question.
No, that's a good question.
I think in the hierarchy of amenities, it doesn't really pop up to mean much anyway. So, we ended up throwing a whole bunch of these things away when the restaurant changed last time. We don't want to put too many things in here that it would obsolete this format with what we've already printed up if it changes in the future, and that may be one of them.
So suggestion is to just remove that completely?
I would have a I don't know that there's another reference to the restaurant, maybe just.
Oh, it's got its whole section.
Yeah, there is.
Oh,
It's got his whole
Yeah,
section.
it has.
on page.
Let's just take that out, Jeff.
Yeah, take that.
But
Because I see golf course feet.
I mean, I don't have a problem with being in there. It just means that in December of 26,
Yeah, here we go.
you got to do a new one,
That's right, exactly.
because
So-
then this becomes dated.
yeah, so do you just want to suggest maybe moving up under amenities to just say,
Should we move
mention
it?
an on-site restaurant?
That's
as
what I thought, yeah, maybe an on-site restaurant under amenities.
Under amenities?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I had noted, it talks about community service, the gatehouse, the trash pickup and everything else. The locked on-site RV lot isn't really a service, it's an amenity. So I would suggest moving it down one under the amenities rather than under services.
Sure. One issue I have, Jeff, the very front page, we show where they have the picture of the horse and everything, 15,400 Southwest 20th Street. Interestingly enough, Southwest 20th Street does not exist.
It's 20th
That's-
Avenue Road, or no, 20th?
Well, but in general, and there's other references to addresses here. If this thing is going to be out and about in the community, trying to stimulate people to come here, there is a problem with some GPS systems with looking at that on-site address, the 1450 154th Street Road. Many GPS systems from different locations will bring people to the back gate.
Most of them
And
will.
we absolutely don't want
Most of them
that.
do, I think.
I would suggest whatever is the most appropriate address to use for the front gate should be what's in this document consistently throughout, so that we can avoid having people wandering to the back gate. We've seen it a number of times with delivery people from Amazon and others being stuck back there because they followed their GPS.
Yeah, I think the way the GPSs are set up, and it depends on which system it is, whether it's Magellan or whatever. If you use the gatehouse, it will route you to the front entrance. If you use the golf clubhouse building, it'll try to take you through the back gate
And that's why I'm
potentially.
suggesting we should
Yeah, so it should-
specifically use the appropriate gatehouse address, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
to try and avoid that.
I agree.
Okay.
What is that address?
15400 Southwest 154th Street Road? Or
No, it's 20th.
No, it's 20th.
That's 20th Avenue? Oh, okay.
20th.
So then just
So
finish.
the what's there is okay?
No, it's
No,
20th,
you get-
it should be 20th Avenue,
It says 20th Street, yeah.
20th
Oh,
Street.
20th Avenue Road,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now,
We'll look into
does that
it.
one have the road on it, or is it just 20th
It does
Avenue?
have the road. I think it's
We'll verify it.
We'll get it.
Yeah,
So we'll make sure we have the correct gatehouse
gatehouse
address.
No, it is Avenue Road.
And you
'cause here it is on
you can
this.
kill the other addresses on
20th
the
Avenue
internal
Road.
ones,
Okay.
on the golf course and the restaurant, because they've got to come through the gate to get there.
The clubhouse, there is an actual address on the gatehouse, and we tried to plug that in, and it really, like you're saying, it depends on which, if you're using Google or Waze or something else, and one of them actually took you to somebody's house, even though that was the correct address. So I think we came up with this, that was the best of the options.
But even on our back gate, we have a sign that says that tells you to go to the 154 or the 15400 Southwest 20th Avenue Road. I mean, there's a sign back there, so we should be consistent with an address.
And if somebody dials this telephone number, the 0432, whose phone rings?
Not mine.
That's the office.
That's the office, okay.
yeah.
Any other suggestion changes? Do we already have a quote for, well, assuming we get this on the board agenda for February, we should have a quote for the printing, because we're not going to use the just basic photocopy paper. We're going to do the nice glossy paper. And okay, next up, Finance Committee Charter Revision.
Yeah, I think there was some confusion in it's correct, the new version we got, but the one that was the first came out had just the changes and not the whole Finance Committee charter. Okay. I think Carol might have mentioned that,
Yeah.
made a comment.
Yeah, what was in my packet was just the one.
Yeah, if you
little
look at the,
Responsibilities, right?
what I did, yeah, you're right. We didn't put the right one in. I have actually the original one that we made all the changes to, but this did not get into the packet.
Okay.
What the changes got in. And just so we understand, what I was suggesting in the charter is that we create a finance committee that are business people asking the right questions. A lot of effort is spent chasing down small amounts that may be irrelevant. And what we really need to do is have people understand that we have certain insurances that are necessary and what they are, to make sure they ask the right questions. Because insurance today is very important. And we spend $200,000 plus a year on insurance. Understand the reserve study, okay, assist with the budget. But most important, and I changed this, and I'll read it, but I think we need to reissue this. Review monthly financial reports prepared by the HOA's management company for reasonableness and consistency that may need further follow-up. Any unusual questions or issues should be sent to the HOA's on-site manager and bookkeeper for further follow-up, with copies going to the board liaison and other board members if they are significant for concern. And here's the kind of things I think that are important. If you look at the golf report, okay, on a monthly basis, you see sometimes the number is skewed by the inventory calculation, and there was a shrinkage factor. What I tend to do, and it's hard to do it in January or February, look at the year-to-date number. And if the year-to-date number comparing sales and total costs, including shrinkage, is a reasonable number, 20 to 25%, I don't go much further. However, if you look at the end of November, that number was a negative number year-to-date. Okay, we should know why that happened. Okay, we should ask that question to First Service and Kevin and Marie if that should be discussed with the manager. Obviously, maybe we returned goods we didn't get full credit for. We got rid of inventory at a lower cost because it was obsolete. We made bad purchases. But those are the kind of questions I think the Finance Committee should ask, and copy the board as well as the liaison.
Okay, so what we have in our packet, this isn't ready for...
It isn't up to date. And the other type of thing, for example, if you look at the reports for August, September, October, November, administrative payroll is up significantly every single month. Okay, they don't need to know who's getting paid what, but they need to get an answer of why that occurred. Was there overtime not being managed, or why? I ask the question. I don't necessarily get all the answers as quick as I would like them, but those are the kind of things that I think the Finance Committee should learn to ask those questions.
All right.
Okay?
All right, what I would suggest then, since you have a Finance Committee meeting next week, right?
Yes.
So if you guys can take another look at the charter.
Yes.
And maybe we'll have it back on February's workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's the philosophy. I mean, Bill, you and I come from the same kind of background. You don't want to be you shouldn't be an auditor. You should be a business reviewer. Does this make sense? And ask questions that are material, not nickel and dime.
There's the old thing called the sniff test, Tom. I'm sure you're very familiar with it.
You know what I'm talking about. That's what we're trying, or I'd like to see the Finance Committee pay attention to.
Sure.
Why our electric bills are high? Is it the rates have gone up, and you can easily look at the rates? Okay, is it just the street lights? Can we do anything? Be a business review as opposed to, a mechanical review.
All right, so...
Yeah, one of the issues is you talk about that golf retail situation. So much of the stuff that is bought out there essentially is on consignment, even though it doesn't say that. So when they start adjusting stuff and doing returns and things, it gets kind of tricky. And
if the cutoffs aren't done correctly, you're going to get a funny number.
Exactly. They could bounce all over the damn place if you don't.
Yeah, the other issue we have is when we do a budget for expenses, normally, except for a few, we divide by 12 and spread it out. That's not how we spend money in repairs. So you have landscaping issues, you have repairs and maintenance issues. So it's hard in a January, February, but as the year progresses, you need to look at the year-to-date to see, are we going in the right direction?
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Last item on our agenda is the Summer Glen Holiday Artisan Craft Fair and Vendor Expo Marketing Proposal. So, Bill, you want to kind of kick it off and then?
Yeah. As it says here, and hopefully I tried to get this in your guys' hands last week so you'd have a little time to look it over, but the proposal from the Social Committee is to have the Summer Glen Holiday Craft Fair as a standalone community event. And one of the reasons it's important to them is because there will be people from outside the community participating in the fair. And we've had conversations with Tom, and there's already an account where the money could go to for that purpose. So, but actually, this packet, if you read it, spells it pretty well out. For me, they're projecting to make a pretty decent-sized profit, I guess. And I think they've covered all the bases. If you have a problem with something, I guess now's the time to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused, though. In July or in August, myself and the previous president met with members of the committee and were given a budget, okay, by item. And the nice thing about it is we got rid of some of the showcase items because they just became difficult to manage. Many times you had to book stuff a year or two in advance. There's a lot of competition from Orange Blossom down in the villages. There's a lot of entertainment down in there, and that didn't kind of make sense. So we got a budget that was a lot of different, I have it actually with me, a lot of different events, birthday bash, Picasso's chili cookout, the duck thing, and included in that was not only the fashion show, but the craft fair, and that was part of the social committee budget, and I think we ended up rounding it to 17,000 because basically we look at the break even. So the revenue and the expenses, I think, in the new budget are 17,000 in revenue and 17,000 in expenses. Now, obviously, there's some items that you either make a couple of bucks or you lose some. But the key thing was that the craft fair at the latter part of the year would help offset any things that we underestimated, the costs and so forth. But in the proposal I'm reading, I get the impression we're trying to pull the craft fair out of that budget and handle it separately, and even calling it a possible fundraiser, which is not what the social committee should be doing with fundraising. So I'm a little bit concerned that we've got a finance or a social committee inside a social committee that maybe not are on the same page. And I understand, I've been here for quite enough years where I remember the craft fair was just in this room, and we sold tables. As a matter of fact, my wife and a friend had a table for craft stuff and so forth. Then it expanded. We added outside in the parking lot, people, vendors selling shrubs and so forth. Then we opened up the patio, the outside parking area to vendors with all kinds of displays. Then we added the RSO building, okay? And this past one, which was pretty good, we had even food court over by the water fountain. But it's getting complicated. It's a lot of work. I understand that a lot of the people in the social committee didn't want to continue it in that manner because it's a lot of work and it's focused on bringing a lot of people from the outside. Originally, and the social committee charter was really to do social benefits, dances and music and things like that here for Summer Glen, not for the community, okay? We're not the villages where you have Brownwood Square or Lake Sumter Square where they have big events out there. It's really local, and it may be getting a little bit carried away. If we want to change that, we should change that in 27. If they don't want the craft fair to be part of the social committee budget process, then it should be done in 27, not in 26, which was already presented and agreed upon. So I think we're out of sync a little bit, you know.
a complementary issue to exactly that, Tom, is if you accept the premise here that it could be meaningfully or has been meaningfully profitable, you don't want to highlight that separately in the financial statements because you could invite the tax man. Right? So it should stay, you know, the accounting for it should stay buried in the bowels of the social committee budgeting process to offset some other losses during the year. The management of it and the like is totally separate from that, which is, you know, a very interesting and, you know, an impressive project. But I don't like the idea of just for some internal purpose to segregate the financial result of it into a separate. You don't want to highlight that because, you know, there'll be people there can be questions asked that become
Gentlemen, would it be
morass.
Would it be appropriate to allow the committee chair just
Sure.
to give you know, her thoughts on how this all started or why it started, and perhaps she can explain further?
Go ahead.
Okay. What brought this about was the fact that it doesn't fall under the criteria of the charter of the social committee. And it has grown to be more of a standalone, similar to the garage sales. It still falls under the social events budget line item, a general social events, but it wouldn't be a social committee event because it doesn't, our criteria is to do events and dances that benefits the Summer Glen residents. This not only benefits, it does benefit the Summer Glen residents, but in a different stand. It's just like if you're having a big garage sale, you're inviting the public. Before, when they had the craft fair, it was strictly resident crafters and resident attendees. And it grew from there to get where it's at right now. So the proposal was just to, it still is going to fall under the social events, but the social committee now has got their budget under control and not spending $4,000 extra on showcases that they can't sell for the craft fair to cover their expenses. This is just to benefit the community and to give back to the community. We're not doing a fundraiser. That's not what it's about. It's about taking that money and giving it back to the community and using it somewhere that could be beneficial to help improve an amenity or what have you. The board would have control of it. We would not.
But it'll still fall under the social committee umbrella of dollars, no?
No.
Then
The
it has
social,
to.
well, because we're looking at our charter, you know, we have to look at our charter every year. We're looking at our charter and going, wait a minute, we're not following our charter because the craft fair is not following the charter.
Well, I got the charter here in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't see where,
Under the scope, on the second page, where it says example of types of events that will be in the committee's annual program, type shows, educational and entertainment seminars, and any event that should be exclusive for benefit for Summer Glen residents.
okay, so that one sentence, any scheduled event should be exclusively for the benefit of Summer Glen residents.
Yeah.
That's where the social committee's having a
Having a time.
concern about.
Would it be easier just to change the charter slightly and instead of going all the other histrionics?
Yep.
And we're not asking for a budget for the craft fair. It supports itself. So and we're not doing it as a fundraiser. We're just continuing something that started many years ago.
Yeah, where I have the problem is having two different methodologies within the social committee. I have a problem with that. And I understand that and I think in our discussion in August or July, we actually set up a separate
Right.
GL account. But specifically, we discussed that you wouldn't know that amount until November because that's when you end up with seeing all the events, whether they were profitable or not, and you end up with a number of what's left over. And I got to tell you, you know who does a great job in managing that? The Flamingo Club. because at the end of the year, when they have extra money, they have events like a pizza party for free. And maybe that's the right thing to do with the social committee. If you end up with $1,500 or $1,800 or $2,000 left over in December, have a pizza party and don't charge. Have music and don't charge anybody. Give it back to the community that way.
All right,
Okay? That to me is more
let's break this up into two
appropriate.
pieces. The biggest issue from what I'm just hearing is that one sentence that any scheduled event should be exclusively for the benefit of Summer Glen residents. So that's where the heartburn is with the social committee saying, look, this is kind of getting outside of our scope, outside of our charter, because this isn't exclusively for Summer Glen residents anymore. We got outside vendors coming in and we're inviting the public to come in, and now they're talking about expanding it to a vendor expo. So the scope is getting outside of their original charter. So before we talk about the accounting of where the monies go, do we want to proceed with letting this event continue to grow beyond an exclusive Summer Glen event?
My question was, who managed it? Is it a social committee event? Are they responsible for it? Or is it people outside the social committee? That's where I have a problem.
Or is it a
the social committee
Or is it a
event?
subcommittee of the,
Well,
of that?
let's let them answer the question.
Okay.
It would be an HOA responsibility, like the garage sales. Social committee, when we did our budget, the board convos, coffee convos, and garage sales always was falling under our budget. We don't have anything to do with the garage sales. We don't do the flyers, we don't do the permits, we don't collect the money and turn it in. So it was kind of in that same realm where we looked at the craft fair and went, okay, rather than see it go back to the little ones that it used to be, because we're supposed to benefit the residents, let's see if we can build it as a self-sustaining, like the garage sales. It supports itself, doesn't require a budget. Not everybody on the social committee wants to help, so Jerry and I talked about taking it on ourselves, but the HOA then would be the main management of overseeing. And we would meet with them, we'd go through all the discussions.
Well, years ago, I was the liaison to the social committee. And at that point, they would vote for the members of the social committee would vote on did they want to do this event or not. Was there a vote at the social committee to do this event, the golf,
There was a vote that they did not
Yep.
want to continue doing it.
did they vote yes to do this?
No, they voted no, they don't want to
They
do it.
voted no. So the question comes in, how does it get managed? Should it be part of the social committee when the social committee said, no, we don't want to do it? Do we have to create a separate, it seems to me it's a little convoluted. I'm uncomfortable with that.
Well, Jody's there, a question, how does that affect, you talk about drawing in all these new vendors, how does that affect the original resident vendors? I mean, are they gonna have to compete, table prices going up, do they have to compete for space?
Resident vendors get first dibs on the tables.
Would they, but
We
are
always-
table prices going up?
No, they pay a lower rate than what the outside vendors pay.
All right. And then there was a thing about food. I know there were some groups in here that did food, but you talked about,
Well, we talked about them being, tavern being the exclusive or
Exclusive,
or
right.
offering a special menu during that event.
because aren't there groups that right now in
There were,
here
we
that-
had to drag people this past year to get
Okay.
them to be a food.
I'm not aware. I just knew there were groups that
Yeah.
were doing food.
There's two different ways the restaurant could work. We could, if we didn't have anybody else wanting to do that, then, the restaurant would be the exclusive, but that's why it's in there that says, or offer special menu options during the event.
Okay.
I think, Jeff, we have to have some more discussion with Jody and Jerry on this, because the mechanics of it and how it's laid out, it's it's, they're using a social committee, but the social committee's not responsible. So I
But
They're not using the
I have a
social,
problem with that.
they're not using the social.
we're not
committee.
using the social committee.
That's what she's telling you. They're not using it. It's going to be.
Well,
run-
but the HOA funds everything for the social committee. Okay, so who funds this event?
It funds,
Okay.
it funds
I-
itself.
It funds itself.
Well, but I think it goes back to sponsorship. It needs to be sponsored by
Someone.
either the social commit, one of the committees, or a legitimately established club or activity group, not private individuals.
I understand, and that's where I have the problem, because the social committee said they don't want to sponsor it. So somebody,
Well,
some organization that's acceptable in Summer Glen has to take responsibility for it.
If the word exclusively was not in the charter, would the social committee have any issue with this? They don't want,
They didn't want to be responsible for it because they felt they were being, you know, you're getting this money and stuff, but we're bringing outside people. Where a lot of the events, we don't bring the outside people in. And so that was the whole, we could word it differently.
So
If you need somebody sponsored by, then we could take it back to the committee and say, would you just sponsor it?
so if we did a repeat of 2025, the social committee is opposed to that. Not just the expanded version, but even the existing version, what we did in 2025, you're saying the social committee is opposed?
They're not exposed to it. They just didn't want to go against their charter. And against what the whole social committee is about, bringing things just to the residents. And the craft fair, yes, comes to the residents. You know, we can take it back for discussion for them if it helps you, and we can meet with you, but.
One way around it is establish a single-purpose new committee. Get them a charter, and boom, they're off and running.
That's what you're asking for?
And then you'll lose all of the interaction and drama or anything else. They're just a separate deal. If you want to do it, yeah, it's one way to do it.
We could rewrite it as a committee. I was looking at it more like the HOA runs the garage sale. I'm like, okay, it's a self-standing supports itself. The craft fair supports itself. There's no budget needed. I'm getting sponsorship payments from the sponsors. We get vendor payments. That takes care of itself. So I felt it fell under the HOA. It would still go into the social event money, but under its own GL that Tom set up.
Okay, it sounds like there's more discussion need to be had before we get this, so.
No.
Probably, Tom, obviously you have some strong feelings about Bill as the liaison. I think you need to be involved, but we'll set up a meeting
Okay.
to sit down with the two of you, and anybody else from the social committee?
Errol Forsman is our other. He's our logistics for floor plans and stuff.
But you guys decide who you want there, and we'll get a meeting set up to kind of hash through this.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay, so that completes our agenda. Next up is director input. So Tom, we'll start down at your end. Anything you want to add?
At this point, I'm out of words.
Wow, that's
Unusual
a
for me to
first.
be out of words, but I'll pass.
I just wanted to comment on one thing. Facilities and Grounds has been working with Marie, and we have a complete preventative maintenance schedule, annually, weekly, daily. It's something that we hadn't had before, so we have a punch list now, daily PM activities occurring. That's it.
I have, no, unless you want to.
Yeah, so it brought to my attention, John mentioned that since he lives out by the back gates have been opening up mysteriously. So it sounds like the high school is doing testing on the fire alarm system, and it's activating the Yelp system.
So we called somebody to help us with that. There's several different things going on back there. We need to identify what is actually causing that. We fixed the Yelp last year because it was not reading as well as it should have, and now it's reading great. And so they may be, I don't know about who's doing the fire alarms or whatever, but it can be adjusted. So I have already called for assistance.
Tony had mentioned, I mentioned to Tony it was opening, he said, yeah, they're testing, and I heard the fire alarms being tested at the school this morning. And so that speaker's working well.
It's working well. Yeah, we'll have it adjusted because it really does not need to be that sensitive.
No, because that sound wasn't really that loud.
Right. And the yelp when a fire truck or an ambulance comes in is very, very loud. So maybe what we replaced it with is just new and crisp, and so now we just need to adjust. So I've already communicated, and someone's going to take care of that with Tony.
I just wanted to make sure our residents knew that the gate is actually operating properly. It's not broken.
Right. Yeah. We'll leave it open for right now. That's what we're doing, just for a little bit, until we can figure out the adjustment.
Okay, I have one other item, but I'll wait to the very end. Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah, just the verification of the date that Pat and Brad will be here is what's the date?
So tentatively, we were talking about Monday, February 2nd for a golf town hall meeting.
Okay, has that been
So it's-
verified through Pat and Brad?
We talked about it yesterday with Brad.
Yeah, we just spoke about it late yesterday, so I need to get with Patrick, make sure he's available, and make sure we've got the room. So I'm going to work on that today.
Yeah, so we should be able to get, if we can confirm that date with, make sure everybody's available, we'll get it locked in.
Yeah, if we can get it before the weekly goes out, that would be good, so we can advertise it. Thank you.
Bill?
About the only thing I have is I've been a member of semi-private clubs and private golf clubs for better than 50 years. And Brad is one of the best I've seen, and Bill pretty much summed it up. Said, let's let him do his job.
I, like Tom, think I've used up plenty of my quota of words for today.
Okay. All right, so the last thing I want to do just is an update to the community concerning the restaurant patio. I know there's been lots and lots of rumors flying around, and Kevin's been trying to keep the community up to date in the weekly by giving updates. So here's the full story. So when they originally applied for their liquor permit, there was a clerical error and an incorrect box was checked or forgotten to be checked, whatever the case may be. And it just included the actual premises, the restaurant and bar itself, as far as serving alcohol, instead of including the patio. So there's a special form that now has to be submitted to extend that, a permanent extension of the premises to include the patio. So that permit has to be filed through the Alcoholic Beverage and Tobacco Division, and the first thing on the application says it has to be approved by local zoning. So that would be the Marion County Zoning Commission has to, or zoning department has to approve that that area is acceptable from zoning purposes for use as a place of business for serving alcohol. We got ABT involved. We have the Marion County Zoning Department involved, we got the Marion County Building Safety Department involved, and then we got the consultant that their Tavern at the Glen is using to process their liquor permit. So after they had filed their original permit and gotten approval, there was some work that was done modifying what used to be the semi-private dining area to convert that into a server area. The county came in, I don't have my sheet with me, sometime in September, and said, geez, the work you did there really should have been permitted. So you have to do an after-the-fact permit for that. And in order to get the after-the-fact permit, you have, well, any permit for the work that was done, you have to have Florida licensed, engineered, stamped drawings showing what modifications were done, and then you have to get a general contractor involved to fill out the paperwork and walk the permit through the process. So we're in the process now. We've already approved both the architect to do the drawings and the general contractor. So we have them under contract. The architect has completed the drawings. Everything looks good. It's been submitted to the general contractor. Now they're creating the permit application and they're going to walk it through the process. Once the application is processed and a permit is issued, then the zoning department will sign off to this special form with Alcoholic Beverage and Tobacco Division of Florida government so that they can file the amended license. So there's multiple agencies involved, and each one has their own little fiefdom that they want to protect and make sure each I is dotted and T is crossed. So it's taken much longer than what we had hoped, but it's in process. Hopefully, I don't know, we are hearing there's a backup of permit applications in the county, and not sure how long it's going to take, but from what we understand, the general contractor can help us out with that and kind of expedite it through. So he has everything he needs for the application. So hopefully he can get that through the permitting process. Zoning will then sign off saying that everything is good. They can then file this amended property or permanent extension to include the patio, and we can get that opened up. So it's been very convoluted, working through the bureaucracy, but we're getting close to the end. So I can't give you a date because it's going to depend on how long it takes to get through Marion County permit approval, but we're getting close, I know that. We've done all of our due diligence, gotten all the information that's needed to satisfy it. Just hopefully there's no issues in the permitting process and it gets through in a somewhat expedited manner. So, there's been talk about, well, building safety doesn't have any problem with it. That's true. Building safety doesn't have any problem with opening the patio, but zoning, until they get the permit approval, zoning won't sign off. So that's where the holdup is. So with that, we'll firm up the golf town hall meeting. Our next board meeting is February 12th, and the next board workshop tentatively for February 26th. So with that, I have a motion for adjournment.
I'll move adjournment.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Okay, meeting is adjourned. We now open up the floor for resident comments.
Roland LaFontaine, Lot 230. I know there was a little bit of discussion about the streetlights, the solar-powered streetlights. I have a brochure on those streetlights. There are some switches in those streetlights so that they can be adjusted to low and high power. Okay, and right now I believe they're set on low power. And also for brightness, cool and warm. Cool is bright white, which is 6,000 K, and warm is 2,700 K. So there's 4 settings on those lights, and they're all by switches in those lights. And right now, I believe they are on the lowest of the low settings. So by switching those switches, you can make them brighter and a whiter light. Thank you.
I don't think they last.
I
They
can tell
didn't
you,
last, right?
Roland, when we put those lights in, that high-low question came up.
Right.
And it was my understanding they were all set at the high level. Now,
No.
Yeah.
I
No.
didn't check it, but I think that was discussed at the time.
That absolutely is the case. Jeff Metcalf went out when they installed them. They were all set to the cool, which is the brighter white rather than the yellow.
I
light.
don't think so. You should check them
Roland,
again.
we'll verify.
But please.
But Jeff Metcalf, I specifically asked that question of whenever Jeff Metcalf was our maintenance guy, and he verified that. We'll double check to make sure nothing's changed.
All right,
But
just
they
do
were
that.
set at the maximum brightness settings. The whiter light color as well.
All right, please do that, because I know that there are settings on there that you can
Yeah,
change.
We're aware of them, and we will verify. But
Okay, thank you.
Carol Steck, Lot 1006. Whether this is done for the February 2nd golf town hall or before this policy is resubmitted to the board, again, some of the comments that were made make me question whether you read this as carefully as you read the flyer. Any golf department employee in good standing may play rounds at Summer Glen corresponding to the number of shifts they regularly work, with a minimum of 2 shifts a week. So if they work 5 shifts, they get 5 rounds of golf, according to how this is written. Is that really what you want to do? And it just says the shifts they regularly work. So if we have a hurricane and the course is closed for 2 weeks, oh, well, you know, if we were open, they would have worked 10 shifts. Do you bank these 10 shifts? This is a very loose, very lax policy. And as far as money lost, Bill, you're like, well, but if nobody's going to play it anyway, well, currently the employees play. And there are employees that play 5 days a week. This is taxable income. I'm sorry, Tom, you are wrong. I have been in the payroll business for over 25 years. This is considered a non-cash fringe benefit. Please make sure that we are properly reporting it on their W-2s so we do not get penalized by the IRS for failure to do so. The other is I'm, you know, to sit there and say, oh, this should be extended to gatehouse employees. Again, what about every committee member in this community? What about every person that contributes hundreds and hundreds of hours? Why are we treating these people special? And then when Dan says it's for people, I do not understand the business rationalization for this. I really don't, and I would like to see one. And as far as the golf pro, I'd like to know if there's anything in his contract that states he's got some sort of responsibility as far as budget. We keep hearing, oh, he's doing wonderful. Unfortunately, we only have financials through November. And through November, we're still doing pitifully as far as golf revenue. Okay, we haven't sold the golf memberships that you expected, so for 2026, you're probably already $30,000 in the hole. It's a business, folks. We need to run it. If you're going to do something, please put some controls around it, put some parameters. When Tom tells me, oh, we're back to the problem of the golf reports don't show names and yet people are not paying for those, that it's a guest that got there for free, that was a problem we continually had in the past. I will tell you that in the 4 years I was on the Finance Committee, 1 month, exactly 1 month out of 4 years did we ever hit our budget number for daily play. And it was the month that Sean started and instituted a policy that says everybody, every player will be booked in under a name and properly tracked. Apparently, that's gone down the wayside again. So if we're trying to thank these employees for their good job, I am sorry. It's too lax. You're not running as a business. We're losing money hand over fist, and you are asking 1,000 households to subsidize all of this. Please do your fiduciary responsibility and at least define this and put parameters around it to contain or control how much you're going to continue to give away. Thank you.
Sir Rodriguez, Lot 819, and as a member of the DRB, we worked with the solar lights. I was a member of that committee, worked with those solar lights, and I had just given all of that information to the F&G for their maintenance schedule. That same brochure that Roland has contains all of the information on the solar lights, as well as the maintenance, the battery life, which is, they say, is average 2.5 years based on how high you set that setting, which at the time in January 2024, when the board approved those solar lights, I have all that information and made notes on there that the setting, current setting, would be a cool, bright white. So it's running at its very highest, meaning that it's depleting those batteries much quicker the higher it's set. And I gave the F&G committee as well the Kevlin setting that shows where those lights is, where the brightness of the light can be set, so that they know whether they start with candlelight or go all the way up to a very bright incandescent light. So all of that was given to F&G. They have that. They'll pass that on to Tony. And in fact, you're right. It is set at bright white. So those batteries are depleting much faster. And the cleanliness of the solar panels and those glass panels is key to how much light we're getting out of those solar lights. Of course, the wintertime, we're not going to get as much good out of those solar panels because the sunlight just isn't there like it is in the summertime. So yeah, you're right on the setting of that light. Thank you.
Diane Doan, Lot 559. I just want to add one thing. Fred asked me to, in regards to the fitness equipment, the pulleys that they now are replacing, and they're an ergonomic pulley, whereas they weren't before on the other machines. And what that does, it will let the whatever unit they're using, whatever, I don't know, equipment, it slows it down so it doesn't drop. And that's an update from what we're looking at now. I mean, that is what we're looking at now. He wanted me to just pass that along. I hope I explained it right. Thank you.
I get it.
I'm Marty Sawyer, Lot 180. My question is for the restaurant. Are we in current negotiations with them to modify his contract?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
So is he's supposed to start paying rent this month? Is that going to be negotiated out? Do you know? He's supposed to pay 1% of his gross take, I believe, in the month of January.
At this point, there is no proposed change to that.
What about the cap on the unused vouchers? Do we have a number on that?
No proposed change to that.
So I believe by the 10th of each month, he's supposed to supply the sales receipt for the previous month with a number of vouchers have been used. Have we been getting that?
We're still in negotiations on the lease, so I'm not going to comment any further while we're still negotiating.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.